best way to predict a free future is to create it. Abraham Lincoln. Greetings to our chief guest, Major General Paul Naidu, our principal, Reverend Father Sunil Fernandez, Vice Principal, Mr. Uday Kumar, Primary School Administrator, Father Vishal D'Souza, Executive Board members, delegates, teachers, and parents. We cordially invite you to the 9th edition of St. Joseph's Boys High School's Model United Nations. Title sponsors, Nero's Ispat Private Limited, and associate sponsors, Narendra Steels and Alloys. SJBHSMUN is a worldwide digital conference and is only the second of its type in our school's history. This distinguished conference provides students with hands-on experience with foreign policies and international relations by allowing them to play the role of UN delegates from state ambassadors to other stakeholders. We extend a hearty welcome to everyone. And to all the delegates, the power is yours.
Music expresses that which cannot be said and on which it is impossible to be silent. Let us begin this day by invoking the blessings of the Lord Almighty and seeking His guidance throughout this journey. The ISA choir will now sing a prayer song.
Lord, I come to you, let my heart be changed, renew, flowing from the grace that I found in you. Lord, I've come to know the weaknesses I see in me will be stripped away by the power of your love. Hold me close, let your love surround me. Bring me near, draw me to your side. And as I wait, I rise up like the eagle, and I will soar with you. Your spirit leads me on by the power of your love. Lord, unveil my eyes, let me see you face to face, the knowledge of your love as you live in me. Lord, renew my mind as your will unfolds in my life and living every day. beyond by the power of your love.
Thank you for that powerful rendition of Power of Your Love. It sure gives us a different perspective of what true power actually is. Theodore Roosevelt once said, "The more you know about the past, the more prepared you are for the future." Truer words have never been spoken. Having knowledge of our history allows us to understand where we are coming from, which in turn allows us to understand our present. It not only reveals the past, creating a backdrop for a lucid understanding of all that is, but it also helps us develop a better future. Arav will now trace the history of SJBHSMUN.
St. Joseph's Boys High School, Model United Nations, has been a breeding ground for proficient mothers for the past 9 years and is one of the oldest and most prestigious conferences to be hosted in the country. It began in Bengaluru in 2013 as a conferencing platform, one of the first of its kind. It encourages and provides students with a platform for deliberation, discussion, and cooperation. The delegates must grapple with a diverse range of geopolitical and socio-political issues that not only play a significant role in what we understand as modern-day society, but also shape future societal norms. The focus here is on simulating the happenings of the United Nations as accurately as possible. The committees held are overseen by an executive board comprising accomplished young students with agendas that are bound to keep your mind tingling and wits in your grip. Providing a platform for well-researched and structured debates, SJBHSMUN is by far an experience that would position your consular skills to the test and serves as a route for abundant learning. SJBHS prides itself in incorporating the Jesuit values of a 163-year-old institution in every event that it hosts. SJBHS aims to foster an environment of peace, harmony, and mutual growth amongst delegates as they aim to tackle the world's most pressing issues.
Thank you, Arav, for enlightening us about the history of SJBHSMUN. It is indeed very interesting. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace, said Jimi Hendrix, one of the most celebrated musicians of the 20th century. Let us sit back and enjoy the rhythm of Under the Same Sun by Scorpions, performed by the ISC band.
Violence in the West Bank,
killing all 14
deaths.
10,000 people are dead in
by the body of
fatally shot
that are causing great suffering and anguish in these times of terror.
I saw the morning, it was shattered by a gun. Heard a scream, saw him fall, no one cried. I saw a mother, she was praying for her son. Bring him back, let him live, don't let him die. Do you ever ask yourself, is there a heaven in the sky? Why can't we get it right? 'Cause we all live under the same sun. We all walk under the same moon. Then why can't we live as one? I saw the evening fading shadows one by one. We watched the lamb lay down to the sacrifice. the children of the sun, how they wept, how they bled, how they died. Do you ever ask yourself, is there a heaven in the sky? Why can't we stop the fight? 'Cause we all live under the same sun. We all walk under the same moon. Then why can't we live as one?
Sometimes I think I'm going mad. We're losing all we had, and no one seems to care. But in my heart it doesn't change. We've got to rearrange and bring our world some love. Yeah,
Doesn't really matter if there's a heaven up above. We sure could use some love. 'Cause we all live under the same sun. We all walk under the same moon. Then why can't we live as one? 'Cause we all live under the same sun. We all walk under the same moon. We all live under the same sky. We all look up at the same stars. The why, tell me why can't we live as one?
I am sure that was thoroughly enjoyed by everyone. Thank you, boys and girls, for that mellifluous performance. Great leaders don't set out to be a leader. They set out to make a difference. It is never about the role, it is always about the goal. We have in our principal, Reverend Father Sunil Fernandez, a great leader who leads from the front. I invite Father Principal to welcome the gathering.
It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all, young, enthusiastic boys and girls, to our Model United Nations event, the SJBHSMUN. This is the 9th consecutive year of MUN, and we are delighted to have you participate, and I wish you good luck and precious memories. It is young people like you who can change things, bring love and compassion into the world, bring down barriers of religion, caste and community, and come together to make the world a better place, a safer place, and a place with greater equality for all. I hope that you will use your education to make a positive difference. The MUN is an opportunity for students to engage with diplomacy and world affairs. Participating in MUN, you will learn about parliamentary procedures and government functioning, and thus become more aware citizens, able to demand your rights. Many critical skills such as public speaking, negotiation and communication can be practiced in this arena. These skills are essential for future studies and jobs. They'll help you build confidence and relationships in all areas of life. Further, academic skills such as research and background checking which are used by MUN participants will hold you in good stead through your life. All in all, it's a wonderful opportunity and I hope you will make the most use of your time here. Thank you for joining us today. Good luck and may the best team win. God bless all of you in your efforts. SJBHS MUN, the power is yours.
Thank you, Father. Your words never fail to inspire us. Minal Dikuna will now introduce our chief guest.
Major General Paul Deepak Naidu is an alumnus of St. Joseph's Boys High School. After passing out of school and later St. Joseph's Pre-University College, he joined the National Defence Academy in 1982. He was commissioned into the Madras Sappers in 1986. As a major, he commanded a field company on the Siachen Glacier and also during the Kargil War. For their outstanding performance during operations, his regiment won the Theatre Honour Kargil. Subsequently, as a colonel, he commanded the same engineer regiment in Jammu and Kashmir from 2005 to 2007. Major General Naidu has served as a United Nations peacekeeper in Lebanon, where he was deployed to monitor the Israel-Lebanon border. He has been a member of the Indian delegation on weapon disarmament at the UN headquarters in Geneva on several occasions. Major General was posted as an instructor in the prestigious Defence Service Staff College, Wellington, from 2007 to 2009. In 2014, on being promoted to brigadier, he commanded the iconic Chindits Mountain Brigade in Assam in an active counter-insurgency environment. He was then selected as the security advisor and training team leader to the Kingdom of Lesotho in Southern Africa from 2015 to 17. Back now in India, he is presently heading a strategic think tank in Delhi which deals with issues of national security and policy. Major General Naidu is a keen sportsman and has represented the services team in tennis at the national championships on 2 occasions. He is an avid traveler, blogger and photographer. His 37 years in uniform have convinced him that being a Josephite is something special and is the best thing that could have happened to him. I request our chief guest to kindly address the delegates.
This is a bucket list moment for me. An old boy invited to be the guest of honor for a school function definitely qualifies as one for the bucket list. And I'm sure a lot of my fellow bucket listers out there would agree with me. Father Sunil Fernandez, Principal St. Joseph's Boys High School, teachers, organizing committee of the Model UN, and most importantly, dear students. It is a huge honor and privilege to be here talking to you, and I would like to thank the principal and the organizing committee for this opportunity. I have a few things I'd like to say to you, and I'll keep it brief because I do know that you'd like to get on with the business of the day. Firstly, I think the Model UN is a fantastic concept. We never had it during our time, and I wish we did. And I'm so glad and impressed that St. Joseph's is organizing the 9th edition of the Model UN. The topics that have been identified are hugely relevant and contemporary, and I'm sure they will generate a lot of healthy discussions. But for me, the real value of events like this lie in the intangibles. You students have an opportunity to meet other bright young minds, state your case, convince or be convinced, and even reassess your values and beliefs. In other words, the aim of events like this is to bring about a change for the better. Change is the only constant, and you, dear students, are the engines of change. What you think of the world today will define its future. So how can you make a change? I'm only 16 years old, I'm a student. Well, I'd like to introduce you to two terms we use in the armed forces. The first is area of interest, and the second is area of influence. Now imagine that you are an officer who has been given the task of defending a small hill against an attack from the enemy. The enemy is located 20 kilometers away, and you have at your disposal a body of troops and an assortment of weapons. As the officer in charge, your area of interest would extend from your own location right up till the enemy 20 kilometers away and even beyond. You would like to know everything about the enemy. What is his strength? What are the weapons he has? How much ammunition does he have? And so on. You would like to know everything about the ground or terrain between you and the enemy. Is it flat? Is it mountainous? Which are the areas you can use to ambush the enemy? Which are the areas the enemy can hide? And so on. You would like to know about the weather conditions over the next few days or few weeks. All details which affect your task are a matter of interest to you, even the ones you have no control over. All this constitutes your area of interest. So what is your area of influence? Simplistically, it is limited by the longest range of the weapon that you have. So if you have a gun with a range of say 2 kilometers, then hypothetically speaking, that's your area of influence. Beyond 2 kilometers, you cannot influence the battle, but you have full control within those 2 kilometers. So your area of interest is 20 kilometers, but your area of influence is 2 kilometers. But remember, a good commander will always try to increase his area of influence by using his resources well. So how does this translate into in real life? Out of all of us on this planet today, less than 1% are destined for greatness. You know, the kind of people who will win a Nobel Prize or establish a multi-billion-dollar company or become mega sports stars. For those people, their area of influence coincides or even exceeds their area of interest. But what about the balance 99% of us? Do we pack our bags and ride into the sunset? The answer is no. The beauty of life is that each and every one of us has an exclusive area of influence with the freedom to make a difference and bring about any change that you want. Whether you choose to do so or not is up to you. Whether you try to expand this area of influence or not is again up to you. Take me for example. The Indian Army has produced many more illustrious and accomplished generals than I. But when I do hang up my uniform, I will do so satisfied in the knowledge that I have tried to make a difference in my area of influence. When I was a youngster or a lieutenant, my area of influence was a platoon that I commanded. When I was a major, it was a company. When I was a colonel, it was a regiment, and so on. And I have no hesitation in saying that not all my attempts of making a difference were successful. Some failed, but at least I tried. So dear students, remember, each and every one of you has an area of influence where you and only you can make a change or a difference. And there is no excuse for not trying. And it is these millions of small changes by ordinary people that, like you and I, that will make a huge difference. So every day, you should be asking yourself 3 questions. what is my area of influence? Have I made a difference? And how do I make this area of influence bigger? My second and final point is about communicating. You all are here today to talk to each other, state your case, and make your point. But good communication is as much about listening as it is about talking. And sadly, we seem to have, over the years, lost this ability to actually listen to each other. You can blame it on the information overload. You can blame it on the reduced attention span because of social media, the generation gap, whatever you want. But the fact of the matter is that all of us would much rather talk than listen. So I urge you, dear students, over the next few days to take time out to actually listen to what the other person is saying and understand his or her point of view. I firmly believe that a lot more problems get solved by listening than by talking. Give it a shot. Well, that's all I wanted to say. I shall be following the events of the Model UN very keenly online, and I'm sure it's going to be both satisfying and successful for the organizers and the participants. Remember, win, lose or draw, enjoy yourself, make friends and create meaningful memories. Sometimes the chase is better than the kill. And finally, I would like to thank St. Joseph's for one more tick on my bucket list. Proud to be a Josephite, faith and toil.
Thank you, Major General Paul Naidu, for sharing your experiences and thoughts. Coming from a Josephite, your advice is indeed very valuable. We will now have Sanjana, Gabriel, Akriti, Dia and Justin introduce you to the committees and notable executive board members of SJBHSMUN.
We begin with the SPECPOL committee. How do issues such as global inequality and political corruption relate to the legacy of colonialism? Why do people flying between two adjacent African nations still change planes in Brussels? Why do the first regions of India to face British colonization have worse education and healthcare systems today? Most importantly, what can the world do about challenges like these? The long-standing predicament of self-determination and self-governance, as old as the era of colonialism, still remains unsolved. Even in the modern age of diplomacy, questions remain with regard to the sovereignty of multiple territories, such as autonomy for Catalonia or freedom for Hong Kong. The delegates are tasked with developing effective strategies to counter the ever-publicized global issue of self-determination. Our first co-chairperson for the committee is Alden D'Souza. Alden is an exemplary diplomat. This EB member not only builds bridges instead of walls, but has also learned to wield the power of words tactfully. They say the art of restraining power proves itself difficult to master, but he makes it seem like child's play. With accolades from MUNs such as Rota MUN, CHS MUN and JN MUN, and having chaired conferences in India, UAE and Indonesia, he is not only well versed in a plethora of subjects, but also makes a formidable opponent. Easy to underestimate and difficult to argue with, this EB member is probably the most enigmatic, jovial and cordial member of the Bengaluru circuit, who is bound to enhance any conference by his presence and approachability. Presenting to you, Diplomat Extraordinaire, the co-chairperson of the SPECPOL, Alden D'Souza. Our second co-chair for SPECPOL is Rohan Prasad. This member of the executive board was on the MUN circuit for just a couple of years, but he did not fail to make an impact at every conference he attended. Having not only taken part, but having also received accolades in several MUNs such as COMUN, SJBHSMUN and SJBHSMUN, Rohan believes that money has gone a long way in making him the person he is today. Currently a student of SGCC and an employee in EY Bangalore, he is also immensely passionate about endurance running and F1. A singer-songwriter, he is in the process of releasing his debut EP in 2022. Presenting the co-chairperson of the SPEC poll, Rohan Prasad.
Up next is the Continuous Crisis Committee. Various major global intelligence agencies have received word of a meeting that is set to take place in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia from the 5th of January 2000. Attendees include veterans of the Soviet-Afghan War and some suspected fundamentalists. The outcome of this meeting will be decided solely by the delegates and their actions. So gear up, delegates, you have the power to change global power dynamics as we know it. Delegates will be put in the shoes of various global non-state actors and will be tasked with the objective of achieving a common global goal. Do what it takes to spread the ideals of your philosophy while making sure you bring about a change in the global power dynamics. The first chairperson of this committee is Denzel Joyce, in a circuit whose quality of debate is constantly fluctuating. This individual has time and again proved he belongs with the legends of yesteryear. Known for his uncanny ability to fuse logic, research, and even humor into indestructible arguments, coupled with his incredibly captivating oratory skills that would rival even Demosthenes, Denzel Joyce is a munner par excellence. Although bagging awards dime a dozen such as at COMUN, CHSMUN, and CGMUN, Denzel is one of the few in the circuit who is never in it for the awards, and his passion for Model UN was fueled by an early interest in international relations and politics. With an experience of over 15 months both in front of and behind the dais, he knows every trick in the book, so think hard before you speak. Denzel is a hardcore fan of rock and metal music and is even part of a band. His other hobbies include reading, writing plays, and creating memes. He being the foremost proponent of the dank genre of memes in his extended friend circle. A formidable, hilarious, and well-rounded individual, we present to you the BoJack Horseman of the Model UN circuit and the director of the Continuous Crisis Committee, Denzel Joyce. Our second co-chair is Adyut Janakeshav. Adyut is a proud alumnus of SJBHS and has participated in various months in the Bengaluru circuit. A perfectionist and innovative in his spontaneity, this relatively new EB member embodies a perfect blend of eloquence and meticulous research. He is a voracious debater with placements at various conferences like NLSMUN, SJBHSMUN, and CambridgeMUN. Presenting to you the Vice Chair of the Continuous Crisis Committee, Adyut Janakeshav.
The next committee in line is Lok Sabha. Due to China's ever-increasing global ambitions, the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific region is being threatened. With the recent incursions into the South China Sea and the subsequent submission of its neighbors to the new status quo, China is ever more emboldened to pursue its new foreign policy. This can clearly be seen in the Indian Ocean region, whether it be threat posed to maritime security or the One Belt One Road project. It is now up to the members of India's lower house of parliament to craft a framework to deal with the threat that China poses on the world's largest democracy and the intended consequences that come with every action. For this committee, the first co-chair is Vedant Bhargavasa, a proud alumnus of SJBHS who has graduated from ISC in 2020. He is now pursuing a Bachelor of Commerce degree at St. Joseph's College of Commerce. He has attended 20 Model UNs and has multiple placements in various committees with agendas ranging from economics and disarmament to narcotics, Indian politics, and more. His powerful personality and diverse experiences from both sides of the dais are guaranteed to make the committee an enriching affair. Vedant is a great football fan and enjoys playing basketball too. Following this, we have our second co-chair, Chanakya Mahadev. Chanakya is one of Joseph's most distinguished mothers in recent times. With placements at both the international and national MUN circuit, he has become a household name in the Bengaluru circuit. He has also served on the executive board of previous editions of SJBHS MUN. He promises to make the committee a memorable and informative one for both beginners and experienced campaigners. Presenting to you the co-chairperson of Lok Sabha, Chanakya Mahadev.
The fourth committee is INTERPOL. INTERPOL was set up as a policing organization with global jurisdiction in 1914 with the aim of working together with law enforcement agencies across the world to prevent and solve crime. Fast forward a century later, and no one could have ever predicted the advances in technology, let alone policing technology. This has also brought along the threat of fifth generation warfare. This can be conducted through multiple means such as social engineering, misinformation, cyber attacks, and so on. With the burgeoning digitalization of the world, the threat of the fifth generation warfare only grows. Whether it is a gas pipeline shutdown or a sensitive data hack, one can only imagine the damage a belligerent nation with the latest technology can inflict upon the world. The delegates are tasked with discussing and deliberating solutions to the newfound problem of the fifth generation warfare. For this committee, our first co-chair is Chirag Mehta. This executive board member is undoubtedly an all-round Josephite with an intrinsic potential to generate initiative. Displaying his charm and creating a mark as a delegate, he has been a part of the executive board at innumerable months. With such an impeccable code of conduct and a sharp eye for detail, he reviews each dilemma and resolves the conundrum to perfection. He has amassed a sizable collection of prizes as a result of his regular appearance on the circuit. Not only at MUN conferences, but he also proves to be multifaceted when he excels at business fests. A passionate golfer and horseback rider with a stylish and sophisticated public persona, his culinary skills will soon make him a part of WGSHA. Presenting to you the co-chairperson of the INTERPOL, Chirag Mehta. We next have the second co-chair, Sudhamshu Prashant. This executive board member is a stellar example of one who has found his home in the Bangalore MUN circuit and has blossomed because of it. With his exceptional lobbying skills and aggressive yet approachable demeanor, he seems to love nothing more than a good debate and has placed in every MUN he attended. An enthusiastic fan of progressive music and the guitar, he will readily fanboy over Robert Fripp and his dissonant, a tonal shade of rock. You can expect brutally honest feedback from him and, more importantly, a great time in the committee. Presenting to you the second co-chairperson of the INTERPOL, Sudhamshu Prashant.
The last committee is the Historic Security Council. The Security Council is the most important organ of the UN by virtue of the fact that it can pass binding resolutions on member states. The presence of the veto, however, complicates this power and makes passing any decision of value difficult. Terrorism has gone from a persistent yet marginal security concern to one of the most pressing problems of today. Though many terror attacks are foiled, some groups wage lengthy and bloody campaigns and massacre thousands with scant respect for human life. The fate of the world hangs on the decision made by the delegates. In the face of the impending crisis, we have set the stage for you to save the world from the abyss of darkness it rides in. This committee will be chaired by Arab Katpalia. Much like his fellow members of the executive board, he doesn't like introductions. He would rather provide the delegates an insight into the proceedings of the committee. The core credo of the agenda is to not only provide an anesthetization of chaos, but also to maintain the status quo of the world order. But is our world order, or better still, our means to maintain the world order, really an antidote to the chaos we perceive, the chaos we project? he realizes that there are delegates out there who are ruminative and introspective, coupled with seasoned intellect, and as an executive board member, he would look into the very intricate aspects of the agenda to help them bring the ideas of the committee to fruition. And delegates, if you were ever wondering on how to make a dexterous standpoint, here's what you need to know. To quote Niccolo Machiavelli, there is no avoiding war. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others. Presenting to you the chairperson of the Historic Security Council, R. Kripalia. We have our vice chair, Kisna Shetty, and Kisna is in the 11th grade. He has been to numerous conferences as a delegate and knows the ins and outs of the challenges a delegate faces in a committee. Kisna urges delegates to approach him without any inhibitions. He can't promise enthralling debates or anything of that nature in this committee, purely because that is completely in your hands, delegates. But he wants to remind you that most importantly, it's a month. Don't take it too seriously. Go watch football. Presenting to you the Vice Chairperson of the Historic Security Council, Kisna Shetty.
That brings us to the end of the introduction of the diverse committees and members of the Executive Board for the SJBHSMUN 2021 edition. Thank you and all the best to all the delegates. I would now like to call upon Dulcina, who will introduce the Secretary General of this year's month.
When in action, this quick-witted and razor-sharp manner is a sight to behold. With his reputation as one of the greatest crisis delegates in the Bangalore circuit, he brings a lot to the table. He is now doing his BA LLB at Christ University. Nikhil has a great interest in history committees and is a true blend of diplomacy, tact and intellect. His understanding of international law and politics is unsurpassed. His mining experience covers 4 years, during which he has earned several awards including Best Delegate at AMUN, SMUN, CJC-MUN, NLS-MUN and Jain University-MUN, as well as Commendable Delegate at CJC-MUN and II-MUN. When you look at him, he may appear naive and innocent. But keep in mind, delegates, that one error in your policy may spell disaster. He takes pleasure in conducting extensive study while practicing law, and he wants his delegates to do the same. If you want to hear him start talking and never stop, simply talk about Manchester United Football Club and you'll have his complete attention. Delegates, without further ado, SJBHSMUN 2021 introduces you to Nikhil Anand, the Secretary General.
It is extremely nostalgic to stand here before you. I remember 7 years ago, I was on the exact opposite side of this dais as a delegate attending my first conference as a first-timer itself. It has been a while since I actively indulged in this activity, but if my memory serves me correct, AMUN does live to serve and nurture future diplomats and aspiring leaders. It is not to say that AMUN is the only ideal way of becoming a diplomat. However, AMUN does exist to educate the masses on global concerns and the state of affairs that we live in today. Starting in 2014, I remember walking into my initial conferences, very confused as to how technical rules of procedure worked and how the actual intent of committee was. My inherent love for debating and my love for public speaking allowed me to hone whatever potential I had, which would eventually become a key passion which plays a huge role in my curriculum today. The idea of comparative debating environments showed me why MUNs were so socially demanding. It involved not just beating your fellow competitors with intellect, speech and poise, but it involved collectively addressing global conflicts and global concerns through mutually cooperative solutions. Delegates, as your Secretary General, I have but 2 points to drive towards you today. 1. At the end of the day, you are here to compete. You are here to win. Winning sometimes does not come easy. You all have differences in how you approach committee and differences in ideologues and logic. that state of difference represents more. It represents something far more diverse as compared to the diversity that we live in today's environment. As delegates, you represent different state obligations, different state practices, and different rationales as you approach committee. While some delegates in the course of committee will be recognized more than the others, understand that the executive board is here today to moderate debate and serve as a mediator between debate in order to choose who represents the best of their rationales towards the best of their abilities. Understand that winning does not arise out of downplaying your fellow comparators or out of harsh criticism. Your goal here is to prove that your research and your voice outshines the rest. 2. While you exist in a state of competition, you also exist in a state of nurturing not just yourself, but the people around you. My initial steps in understanding the basic elements of geopolitical clashes and conflicts came through months. In the right environment, you learn. You don't just represent personal policies and personal ideologies, but you understand what your fellow allies or belligerents represent and how differences in these practices exist and why you need to seek consensus and middle ground through mutually cooperative resolutions. Delegates, a MUN offers a multitude of topics and a multitude of platforms. Some committees require you to be more technical and involved in debate. Others require more of personal interaction and lobbying, while others demand a more creative and innovative outlet. Ideally, delegates, you need to seek balance. A balance between the right amount of competition and the right amount of cooperation between your fellow comparators. Balance is not just the key to life, but it is one of the most critical aspects of being a MUNer. Balance is now your key reference point throughout this conference. So delegates, you play here to compete. Some committees would demand more of a certain variety of delegates, while the other committees demand more of a niche area of debating. So delegates, choose your committees wisely, research adequately, and represent your country's ideologies to the best of your ability. With that, I'd like to declare the 9th edition of SJBHS MUN 2021 open. Thank you.